In this video, we are going to see how to build an exponential organization or an exponential solution. We saw before that exponential organizations are actually connecting with an abundance and managing it in a way that they can scale in an exponential way. And in order to build exponential organizations, we are going to see two different processes. The first one is called EXO Sprint, and is focused on evolving traditional businesses into exponential organizations. The second one is called EXO Launchpad, and is focused on building new exponential organizations from early stage startups or even from an idea. So let's start with the EXO Sprint. We already saw that traditional businesses are actually struggling with the current context, with exponential organizations and with exponential technologies. And applying the EXO framework for them is not an easy task at all, because there are some factors that are affecting them a lot. First of all, most of the disruptions are actually coming from the outside. For example, banks are not worried, or they shouldn't be actually that much worried about other banks. They should be worried about an entrepreneur working on a disruptive business for the finance industry, on a new technology that might disrupt actually the finance industry, and so on. So we have to be looking at outside. But when we try to innovate in an existing organization, when we try to evolve an existing organization, the immune system attacks, because the immune system always attacks innovation. And this is happening because, well, the immune system is just trying to protect what is working. This is actually the first digital camera that was invented, and was invented by a Kodak employee. However, the leadership of the company made this employee hide this invention because they were thinking that this could kill their company. And actually this is what happened, right? Because if we don't create something, other company, other entrepreneurs are actually going to create it. So we have to be open to create our own competition. The third thing is that, as we saw before, we cannot predict exponential. It's not possible to predict exponential at all, right? So the only way to predict the future is by creating it. This is why Salim Ismail, the main author of Exponential Organization, and myself started to work with different companies around the world, helping them to transform into an exponential organization. And eventually, what we designed was a process that is called the EXO Sprint, that is able to transform any traditional business into an exponential organization by making an inflection point of this organization just in 10 weeks. One of the main reasons why we need this type of processes in order to evolve organizations is because most of organizations are not even aware of in which theme they should evolve. Most of mammoths of traditional organizations don't even know what is the next business model that they should actually launch. There is actually some trends, for example, transforming product into online services, or building platforms where we are connecting the producers and the consumers and focusing only on the middle platform that is automating everything. For example, Airbnb, where we have the producers who are the hosts and the consumers who are the travelers, right? And we just focus on the platform without managing like the renting business itself, and that allows us to grow a lot. And a new trend is actually ecosystem-based business models, where we have like a set of products and services and even companies working together toward the same purpose. Actually, even the concept of industry is becoming obsolete. To which industry is Google belonging currently, right? Or for example, Apple. Apple used to be a computer company. Now they are not a computer company anymore, right? Because they are selling computers, yes, but also phones, they are selling music, they are selling apps, they even have an AI-based assistant called Siri, and so on. This is an ecosystem. You enter the ecosystem and you are not a client anymore, you are a user of the ecosystem, right? But again, even though we knew what to become, the immune system is going to attack us. And why? Because the immune system is just trying to protect what works. Because actually innovating is risky, right? But the most risky thing is actually not to risk at all. So we have to innovate, but we have to innovate properly. How to do that? Well, we always differentiate between innovation and disruption. We say that innovation is when you improve something that is working. And disruption is when you create something new that makes the previous thing obsolete, right? So in order to evolve a company, what we are going to do is innovating inside, disrupting outside. What that means? That means that we don't want to change our business model. If we try to change our business model, the immune system is going to kill this initiative, right? Because the current business model is working. So we have to evolve and to improve our business model, but without changing it. I mean, we should improve the current company inside, as we can see here, right? So the blue square is becoming a blue circle, right? But without changing the business model. And if we want to change or we want to launch a different business model, we should do that outside. Let's see an example. Imagine that we want to evolve Marriott. So we would keep the business model, so still renting rooms, right? But we would be adding new value and new things to the current business, right? But if we want to create a different business model, we should do that outside. And by doing that, we are going to have disruptive companies outside, and everything is going to become an ecosystem at the end of the day. So we say that we innovate inside, keeping the same business model, and we disrupt outside, creating new exponential organizations. And actually, this is the goal. The goal is that these new organizations on the edge, these new disruptive ideas, these new exponential solutions become actually exponential organizations, and those will become bigger than the original one. So eventually you can start transferring resources from the inside, from the core current organization, into the new exponential organization. But the immune system is going to be there still, right? Because we don't want to bring ideas from the outside. I mean, what we have to have is our own DNA. What we have to keep actually is our current DNA. So what we will do is working with our own teams in a company. We are going to ask for external help, yes, but as a coach that will guide our next steps, that will guide the innovation process. But we don't want like people from the outside telling us what to do, although we should be listening to ideas, of course, but it's very powerful to co-create solutions inside of the company with teams. And this will allow us to engage our teams, our internal staff with those ideas, and this will be killing also the immune system reaction. So during a 10-week process that is called the Exo Sprint again, we're going to have an edge stream, which is a set of people focused on those initiatives on the edge that are the disruptive initiatives, trying to reinvent the industry or even jumping into different industries. And at the same time, we are going to have core stream, a set of people or teams focused on improving the current business but without changing the business model. And at the end of the sprint, in 10 weeks, we will be able to have even physical prototypes, I mean real prototypes. Some of them will be digital prototypes. And not only prototypes, but also early adopters, like initial clients that will validate our real solutions. So after running an Exo Sprint, we're going to have a set of core, innovative ideas, initiatives actually running, and also a set of disruptive initiatives on the edge, changing the business model. And the combination of both of them are going to actually give us the answer to the first question that we have, what we should be becoming, right? So our mammoth will evolve eventually into a dolphin, into an eagle, or into something else, right? And by running the Exo Sprint process, we'll be, first of all, controlling the immune system, which is super important. Secondly, we will be improving our internal capacities, because the people working on an Exo Sprint are going to become experts on innovation. So we are going to build internal capacities in order to keep doing similar processes in the future. But overall, we are going to evolve our people, because at the end of the day, the only way to evolve an organization is by transforming their people. So the Exo Sprint, more than a methodology, is a culture change tool to help us to start injecting a different DNA, a different mindset into the organization. We decided to open source the sprint process, and you can find this into this link or into the Exponential Transformation book. Actually, there is a 30-page summary of the book, which is free, and in that summary you can actually check the full methodology for free. After finishing an EXO sprint, what we will have is a set of ideas or early stage initiatives that still need to be developed, right? So we are going to see a process that will help us to do that. The process is called the EXO Launchpad, and it's actually an open methodology that will help not only us after an EXO sprint, but also in general will help innovators, disruptors, and entrepreneurs to build successful exponential organizations. So if we have an early stage idea or an early stage startup in general, either coming from an EXO sprint or just because we already had this idea, the EXO Launchpad process will help us to take this to the next level. The EXO Launchpad process is actually using different methodologies. So in a way, it's a meta methodology because it's going to be using lean startup design thinking methodologies in order to find out what the client really wants, what is the answer, the value proposition that the market really needs from us. Also, agile methodologies in general in order to develop the things in the right way. So it's going to provide us the answer about the how to do things. And also the EXO framework, which will help us to understand why exponential organizations and exponentials in general are very important, and also to define the purpose. At the end of the day, the EXO Launchpad process is going to help us to build the different key aspects of a new venture. Those aspects are the purpose, the people, the customer, how to connect and manage abundance, how to be sustainable, the processes and the culture, the product and the key metrics. We are going to be evolving those in an iterative way, meaning that we'll do a little bit of the purpose, after that the people, customer, until arriving to the metrics, and we'll go to the purpose phase again. So it's going to be an iterative process that little by little will help us to bring our idea or early stage startup into a proper exponential organization. So in general, what we have seen is two different processes. One is called the EXO Sprint, that is going to help us to evolve traditional businesses into exponential organizations, and also the EXO Launchpad process that will help us to build new exponential organizations coming from an idea or an early stage startup.